and welcome to today's episode of Health University, where I have the good fortune of speaking today to Patricia Silverstein. And Patricia comes to us with a conversation about the importance of knowing your blood sugars, and especially if there's been a diabetes uh, diagnosis or predisposition or family history or anything like that. So a little bit about Patricia, and I'm going to read because it's quite a lovely and lengthy bio. So please let me know, Patricia, if I've missed anything. But she is a licensed counseling professional with a background in team sales management and executive coaching. Born in Barcelona, she's also lived in Madrid and Australia, and now resides in New York, where she is a counselor and health coach. And she's developed a brand called Coaching X Humanity. I love this. When her younger sister became very sick due to acute diabetes, Patricia dedicated herself to overcoming this disease and its complications. And in so doing, she founded and is president of the Silverstein Dream Foundation, which supports groundbreaking medical research for the Diabetes Research Institute. She created a program for diabetes prevention to address early detection, key, for prediabetes, type 1, and type 2 diabetes. Her work addresses the complications through nutrition, as well as techniques like meditation to self-regulate emotional stress to improve glucose levels and insulin resistance. Patricia received the Leadership and Visionary Health Award by the Dominican Women's Development Center for her diabetes prevention program, created to improve diabetes ratios for the underrepresented communities. Thank you for that, Patricia. She serves on the board of the Cure Alliance, which funds emergency treatments for both pancreatic cancer as well as for complications derived from diabetes. Her life's purpose and goal is to find a cure for diabetes and to educate and help humanity find the empowerment to overcome their physical conditions. And if I've missed anything, please elaborate. This is such an impressive bio, and I'm really grateful to have you on today and have this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Susan Fox. It's truly my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the genesis for your work, because here you were doing more corporate work, it looked like, sales and teams management. And then through this personal experience, had a major pivot and like it sounds like a legacy pivot into what you're doing now. So if you don't mind giving us a little bit of the history, that would be helpful.
Sure. Yes, so you are completely right. I started my career mainly in corporate, in team sales, executive sales management, and slowly but surely started developing my counseling and coaching skills through the needs and concerns of the companies that I was working on. As soon as I moved to New York and I married my husband and I decided to stay here, my younger sister in Barcelona became very ill very quickly through her journey with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, through 27 years of um, poor management and poor control, which is something that can happen to any younger person at that age when they develop diabetes 6 years at the 6 years age. And we have to realize that 25 years ago, diabetes and technology and devices were not as good as they are today.
Not at all. You had to prick your finger multiple times a day.
Yeah, and the way to manage and the information and the awareness about nutrition factors and inflammatory factors were not in the picture, basically. Not even today, endocrinologists are very well informed about this matter. So I think our job as leaders in the health communities is really to empower individuals with information through personal stories and personal cases, like my sister's case, who
Yeah.
really had to go all the way out there and almost face challenges between life and death,
Mm.
because her diabetes really affected all of her organs, her kidney, her pancreas, her retina, her eyes,
Mm.
her nerve damage was in her legs. She developed neuropathy. So
Mm.
she had it all at one time, and it happened very quickly. Diabetes, especially type 1, is a silent killer. You will be okay for 15 to 20 years, and suddenly in 1 week, your body will start failing.
Mhm.
I think this experience is for humanity to learn about um, controlling and management in better ways, and to be better informed, and to research and to find more answers than just what we hear from our doctors. Because as you know, and you being a doctor, you know the amount of time that is dedicated to every patient is no more than 15 minutes. And it's really impossible to learn about your patient's needs and evolution in that amount of time. So we created the foundation to supply more information, to provide from tools and stories and awareness that it is possible to live with diabetes. It is possible to um, overcome these complications, and it is possible to reverse if
Mhm.
you detect it early enough and you
Right.
use the tools we have today.
Right, right. Yes, I'm thinking of autoimmune, type 1, which, can be a very sudden trigger because it's the immune system that has begun to attack the pancreas. So to be able to reverse that before that autoimmune attack starts to get into motion, which is then difficult to get it back out of motion, is key. So what kind of programs have you designed, and what does the infrastructure look like for your group? How are they helping individuals, and I think I heard you say also corporations are now working with you on this?
Yeah, so we created the foundation especially for these two essential programs, which are preventing type 1 diagnosis, which
Mhm.
today we have a test that you can find in different companies, and it's available online and soon to be in pharmacies, where you can get a little drop lot from your finger, like with a little prick,
Mhm.
and put it in a cartoon test, and just realize or discover if you have type 1 antibodies, meaning there is a new stage for diabetes called stage 0, where you have the antibodies, but it's not being diagnosed yet by a physician.
Mhm.
And that is a very essential time when you, as a parent, should test your kids if you have another sibling or another family member with any type of diabetes. Because if you know your kid has type 1 antibodies, you can already start the protocols with protective substances like omega-3, vitamin D, high uh, um, low glycemic index diets,
Mhm.
meaning very healthy carbs,
Mhm.
uh, high diets high on fish oils and
Mhm.
good fish, more vegetables, and really change the course and even halt the appearance of this disease, which could save a lot of complications for the family, a lot of expenses, and a lot of concerning situations. So
Yeah.
that's one of the programs. And the other program is once you have diabetes, type 1 or type 2, and it's been diagnosed, and you're really trying to get a hold of the disease
Mhm.
and not become insulin resistant, and not have high glucose levels, A1C levels in blood higher than 7 or 6.5, there are ways to reverse your A1Cs and to lower the inflammation. And that's another type of test where we test the inflammation levels, the C-reactive proteins, the magnesium, the omega-3 levels, the vitamin D levels. So if you're not optimal, you need to start supplementing, and
Mhm.
through diet, supplements, and a change of perspective of
Mhm.
life,
Lifestyle.
because
Mhm.
through these programs, we realize that the two most inflammatory biomarkers on our bodies are glucose and cortisol levels.
Mhm.
And cortisol is the hormone of stress. And what happens when we have type 1 or type 2, we're constantly stressing about our blood glucose. And that is kind of like the fish that eats his own tail, where we
Right.
become obsessed and we cannot get our glucose levels down, and then we start spiraling down with this lifestyle. And so we propose a different training through meditation, through awareness, through releasing fear, through releasing those stressful situations, and start breathing and
Mhm.
really changing taking different decisions, plus the diets and the protocols
Yeah,
with the
I
supplement.
love this. I love this. I love this because one can do all of the nutrition component, but if you're running high cortisol all the time, what that cortisol is doing is releasing blood sugars. So you're constantly elevating blood sugars, right? Because in a healthy scenario, that cortisol is saying, get some blood sugars out there because we're running from that saber-toothed tiger. But if it's just another red light or another Zoom call, you're having this constant release of elevated blood sugars, which are, as you say, inflammatory, acidic, destructive. I think that it's a brilliant and oftentimes missed aspect of blood sugar management is the stress reduction component. So that's brilliant that you're doing it. What does it look like, for instance? Does somebody sign up for like a 12-week how to study for meditation or how to learn this? Or are they working with a coach?
Yes. So what we did as a pilot trial for this study is that we went into these underrepresented communities, some of them from the Dominican Women Development Center, and there are about a number of 40 or 50 women and their kids coming to these workshops where we just tell them what means having diabetes and how is the food converted into glucose and what really happens in your body in a very simple way.
Mhm.
Not like a doctor will explain it, but more like you will hear like a little tale about what happens in your body when
Yeah.
you have diabetes. So we went over 4 months, once a month, and did a group coaching session talking about diabetes and explaining what could be done to reverse cortisol levels and reduce glucose levels. And don't forget, these communities don't have great access to healthy foods or don't
Right.
have enough resources to buy certain type of supplements,
Right.
but we really train them in ways of how they can cook their foods without frying or reusing oils or listening to really what they were concerned about. So
Yeah.
we opened the room to hear them all explain about their processes and their illnesses and how it's affecting their life. And we had time one by one with them to
Mhm.
tell them and guide them through what could be better if they will change some of those protocols. And then
Mhm.
we went and test them. They all accepted to be tested. And so right now we're in the process of receiving those results, and we will um, supply them with supplements.
Mhm.
Because what we found is that if we can prove these communities can have a good ratio and improve their diabetes complications and their diabetes markers, and everybody can do it. If
Mhm.
those communities with limited resources, limited financial resources, and others can improve diabetes ratios, then we can all do it.
Yes, brilliant, brilliant.
I
I'm
mean,
also thinking, when I think of the Dominican, culture, a lot of their nutrition just traditionally is high carb. So whereas it's one thing to have eaten high carb when you're out in the field all day using that glucose, to be having the traditional high carb diet now in a stressful situation, in a more complacent situation, it's a setup. So I imagine that even the nutrition, they're learning how to keep their sort of traditional diet, if you will, but modify it so that it is more acceptable to their current body's needs for blood sugars.
yes, we've been talking to them about the amount of rice they eat and the
That's
amount
what I'm
of
thinking.
beans.
That's exactly
And
what I'm thinking.
we told them how to reduce them and how to measure them with little pouches. And so little tools we give them. But, what we realized through the study is that we in general need more information, all
Mhm.
individuals, because we tend to give a lot of power to doctors or people who wear a white coat,
Mhm.
and we just give them all our health, put them in their hands, and
Mhm.
we kind of not taking enough responsibility.
I agree.
But once you know what you can do, and it could be simple, and it's a lot of related with enough information and enough knowledge about how the body works and how the latest advances in research have shown us that is not only beneficial for diabetes, but is beneficial for chronic inflammation, for breast cancer, for endometriosis,
For brain health.
for brain health. And
Mhm.
so this project is preventing diabetes, but we found through this journey that a lot of other conditions can be improved by taking these simple measures. And this is
Absolutely.
fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Health University. We always strive to find ways to improve our support of you. Please connect with us for a fertility assessment call at the link below, healthuniversity.co, note not .com, /your-fertile-health-call. We'd love to learn a bit about you and share our resources. Now, let's resume our conversation in today's episode. Most of our disease processes or conditions all stem from or can stem from similar lifestyle and behaviors that we sort of just got a little sideways. We, kind of went a little off the traditional track where we once knew how to use food as medicine and herbs as medicine, and we relied on our great grandmother's skills and would just sort of reuse those. And then somewhere along the line, we became enamored with pills and lab coats and the quick fix. But the quick fix is really oftentimes a band-aid approach that doesn't fix. It just takes care of a symptom, and then you see the other symptoms crop up because that's nature, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I
Well,
think society is realizing that we are kind of turning the point now where the functional medicine, holistic medicine, foundation, research doctors are more collaborative
mhm.
and information is more available. The only challenge is that there is so much information available that sometimes customers or individuals get a little lost in the
Yeah,
process. So I think our work at your university and us as a foundation is really to educate and be a guidance, because if you really want to find the information, you will see that at the end of the day, we are all agreeing in very simple factors. And that's the information, that's the valuable information.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. Listeners, I want you to sort of really take this to heart. There's almost too much information out there
Mhm.
on the internet, and any influencer or group or AI search is going to give you material data, but it may not be right for you. If in this case you are on a fertility journey, if in another case you're struggling with maybe a reproductive disorder like endometriosis, an inflammatory condition, if you've got a history of or family history of blood sugar dysregulation all the way to diabetes, you really want to make sure you're getting your information from trusted resources. And,
Yes.
and this is a perfect example. You are taking the time and investing the money and resources into proving that your protocols actually have the desired effect. It's not just Patricia's idea, so let's go try it.
No, I think evidence is always the loudest voice. And
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
personal story is the greatest evidence of my life, seeing
Mm-hmm.
how my sister became healthy through the
Yeah.
process of healing her diabetes and recovering from a double transplant that she finally received to heal her kidney disease. So now she finally doesn't have either type 1 diabetes, kidney disease, retinopathy, or neuropathy.
Oh my
And,
goodness, Patricia. That
and,
is
and
beautiful.
it's kind of a miracle story because she was on the path to maybe not return. And because we went so seriously and so in depth about learning and how could she reverse her diabetes, when she received that double transplant, even though she was on dialysis for her kidneys, her
Mhm.
blood glucose levels were better than mine.
Wow.
And so through
Wow.
this process of 2, 3 years of understanding what can you do to reverse in time, where before your kidney gets damaged or your
Mhm.
eyes get damaged, we learn really all the types of treatments and measures and protocols you can do to prevent this. And
Mhm.
she really didn't have an acute diabetes by then, but the problem was her kidney, that she
Mhm.
needed a transplant.
Mhm.
But that was my loudest evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, no one is the same person, and everyone has a different type of diabetes and different type of lifestyle.
Mhm.
But by working with these groups and communities, we're getting a very good picture of how to help them all in a very simple manner
Simple
with
and
this.
effective. And it sounds as though, I mean, as you said, it took a couple of years and she was in a severely advanced acute state. So somebody listening now, what might you say, give them like the top 3 or 5 things they can do right now to make positive changes? Or is that too simplified for this conversation?
No, no, it's we can talk about this for another 2 hours, but
Yes.
I can really put it in a very concise way.
Hmm.
First of all, um, when you have a disease for many years, you become your disease. My
Hmm.
first advice is never identify with your disease.
Beautiful.
Always identify with the future self of your body being healthy, and your person being healthy. You can only bring health to you if you become healthy before health is manifested in your body. You have to believe you can heal. That's the most important part. And then
Hmm.
go out there and find your tools and find your resources. And if you want to connect with us, of course, we will help you through that process. But the second or third thing I will suggest you do is to get tested
Hmm.
uh, with a prevention kit, that it will test all your biomarkers, the most important biomarkers, to identify how bad is your inflammation and what can you do to start reversing.
Hmm.
And then start a meditation or breathwork program or a walking club or anything that you're not doing today, but that can create change in your routines every day. And you believe that's something that can help you, and be consistent with it.
That's beautiful. You mentioned that you could be a resource. How can people access you? And I'll make sure that that gets in the show notes so they can access you, because I'm presuming it's not only for direction to or actual delivery of the biomarkers kit, but also resources that might be closer to them if they need to physically go into a location, or online resources if they can get that through you. So, if you don't mind saying it, because sometimes people are auditory, but we'll also put it in the show notes.
Sure. So you can access to us in two ways. We have Coaching for Humanity, which is more our coaching side to overcome fear, to overcome the health challenges, and to get coaching services through that. We also do pro bono in cases people or corporate organizations or groups can afford it.
Hmm.
And and then you can also check on our silversteindreamfoundation.com website, and you go to mission, and then in mission you can go to learn more about the prevention project, and then you will access our testing, and you can email us so we can guide you through the process of getting tested, getting the supplements, and getting the protocols with our health coaches.
Brilliant.
So
I'm going to
both.
repeat that if I can, because it's the silversteindreamfoundation.com. And
Yes,
then within that homepage, they go to the learn more. Is that what?
they go to mission and
Mission, excuse me. Okay.
diabetes prevention,
Diabetes
and
prevention.
and you click on learn more, and you will see make a difference on your health today. And that is where you can send us an email or access the testing, and we will send you an email right away if you can access the testing through
Mhm.
the website, and follow up with you since you've received your testing.
Beautiful. What a gift. What a gift you're offering every listener, because, even if someone individually listening isn't struggling with any of these, we all know somebody who is probably either potentially struggling with blood sugar dysregulation, whose family member is, whose colleague is. So this is not a moment of, well, that's not me, so I don't have to listen in. If this may be you, so listen in. And even if it's not you, it's likely to be someone you know or love, or someone who matters, whose life matters, and who knows what that person is here to contribute to our society when they get their health back. Again, I can't say strongly enough how much I appreciate the mind body component to this, because I think that it is too often an overlooked area where someone is doing all the right things, but suffering, stressing, not sleeping because they're suffering and stressing, and is reversing all, not all, but much of the good work that they've been doing, some of the good work that they've been doing by day, by being up all night, fretting over themselves or their loved ones. And also listeners, for your children, for your future children. And Patricia, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. What you do now as you prepare for pregnancy will beneficially affect the egg that becomes the embryo, that becomes the baby, that becomes your family, that becomes the future. So there really isn't an I'll wait till later moment. So I would say everybody pay attention and get on this now.
Mm-hmm.
Would
Yeah,
you agree?
I do. I agree completely. And I'll throw something out there.
Please.
One of our diabetes prevention directors, she's a type 1 diabetic with an incredible A1C of 5.5. She's been diabetic for the last 22 years. She has she has her first child. She's 4 years old, and now she's preparing for IVF to have a second child. So
Mm-hmm.
if anyone in is watching the show or knows you and wants to speak with her, she is a hero of diabetes. We actually have a chat between us and the other prevention director called
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes Heroes. She's
Ah,
a hero with type 1 diabetes. She is completely under control. She learned techniques how to self-regulate through acupuncture, through breath work, and she's very brave and she's willing to go for her second child. And
beautiful.
I will advise every woman in general over the age of 35, just get tested to know your inflammation levels, your vitamin D levels. They're so important for your pregnancy course and afterwards. And it's just a very valuable information that if you can ask the doctor to include it in your blood work, but they will normally not include it.
Mhm.
And I would love to help you and guide you to just create more awareness about health in
Yeah,
general, not only
absolutely.
diabetes.
Absolutely. As I often will say to patients, we work for you. And we've forgotten that. We've forgotten that, doctors are no different than your car, mechanics, in that we work for you. And I actually happen to be a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So that's why the smile when you said that your colleague is using acupuncture, because as a stress reduction technique, as a way to really move circulation beneficially, I would agree. It's an amazing tool. So that's wonderful to hear. I would love to meet her. So maybe when
Yeah.
we wrap this up, you and I can continue a conversation so that I could meet this hero, as you say. So. Well, I want to be respectful of your time and the time of the listening audience. I know that we all have busy lives. And so, is there anything that you would like to impart before we wrap it up that hasn't been covered, where you go, oh, but there's this one thing that I really want to make sure, the audience has as a takeaway?
Um, I just want to say to everybody who's in a health challenging situation right now, um, there are solutions, there are resources. I a lot of us came into this work because we suffer from these moments, and
Mhm.
you don't have to suffer. We know how to help you. So
Yeah.
please come to us and find help.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. It gives help and hope. So I really appreciate your time today. Patricia will be speaking on a summit that we're having. I'm calling it a summit, but it's much more. It's an immersive event that will be airing next year in the spring. So be on the lookout for registration information. It's free, so you'll be able to access, the talks. And I'm sure she's going to have a lot more and be able to really drill down on this conversation, so you and the people you love and the people of your future who you love, your babies, can benefit from it. So once again, thank you so very much, Patricia. I'm very, very grateful for your time today.
Thank you, Susan. Same. I'm very grateful to
My
have spent time
pleasure.
here.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. So, audience, as we say often at the end of our Health University episodes, class dismissed.